A beautiful evening here from Westnile TV, lighting up the region every Saturdays from 8 to 10. Good evening, listener. Viewer, my name is Ayot, Lillian, and this is The Real Talk with me every Saturdays from 8 to 10 p.m. And I'd like to, congratulate Belinda and Ivan. They got married today. What a beautiful story. And for all intending to get married, we wish you well. And it's a very beautiful evening here at Westnile TV. We are on Zuku and Star Times, just in case you are not catching this conversation yet. We also stream on our YouTube channel, that is on the YouTube channel of Westnile TV, where you can like, subscribe and leave a comment on our topic that we're going to discuss. The topic of today, you could also share with your friends, because the discussion we have here has to benefit everyone and everybody's input. We value it a lot. And that is it. Today we have an interesting topic that I believe most people, it's something that affects everyone, but very few people realize that it's affecting us, and not every one of us has taken advantage of that. I know how quick people can travel. You can take a flight here to other parts of the world in less than 24 hours. You're already at a destination that will take like months to reach. And some of you get information like in a click. You already know what is happening in Ukraine, you know what is happening in Syria and all that. And yes, of course, some of you also want to dress like Shakira, dance like Shakira, do all that. And all that has been made possible by globalization. I know most of us are familiar with the term globalization. Many people have different definitions for it, ranging from interconnectedness and interdependency of the world economically, socially, politically, and other aspects of life. In short, it has made things much easier for people. With the help of technology, people can easily get information and a lot of things. And yes, it has affected us in our daily lives, made business easy and all that. When we talk about globalization, all people that comes into people's mind is the world superpowers, all that. Maybe people who are at the top, they're the ones who are affected, or all that. But trust me, down here you are affected to that price of salt that rises every day, or sugar in your daily life. So it's a topic of interest. You can let us know what you think regarding this topic. And to everyone catching us here today, thank you so much. Florence, Hope, everyone, Mandela, shout outs to everyone out there. Ayot on our camera right there, and our producer Aldo, thank you for the big show. And yes, that is it. I don't want to talk a lot. We have a guest here in the studio like we do every day, and today we have one guest, but it doesn't change anything. The discussion will still flow as usual. Before we go, without any further ado, let's have our guest introduce himself to our view. You can tell us what your name is, what is it you do. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm called Innocent Jurwa, and I reside in Bara. And I'm so grateful to be here.
Innocent, we are glad to have you here. Have you ever had a FaceTime, with someone, maybe video called someone from outside?
Yeah, I've done that one severally.
Okay.
All my friends from UK, Dubai, and some other parts of the world, including Nigeria, and Cameroon, and so forth. Yeah.
So that's how easy everything has, become. Innocent, when you hear the word globalization, what comes into your mind?
By globalization, actual globalization, in other words, it means interconnectedness and interdependence of economies, countries, goods and services around the world.
Okay.
So also globalization, in simple terms, it can mean the process by which goods, services, other cultural values are spread around the world. So it basically means the way things work out around the world.
Okay, interesting. To make it more precise, what happens in one part of the world could have a diverse effect, a ripple effect on the other side of the world. And that is why when we say there's war in Ukraine, people already worrying about the rate of dollar, these things being affected and all that. We talked about this in a dimension like political, economic, and social dimensions. We shall dive deeper into that. But before that, what do you think has given rise to globalization? You know, someone says it's dated back to 60,000 years ago. I don't know, but what has given rise to this phenomenon?
Globalization, actually, you know, every day things keeps on changing, yeah, and people's mindset keeps on changing. The way people think, the way people share ideas, they keeps on changing. So globalization, one of the reasons which has led to the rise of globalization is that mutual understanding between people, I mean between people around the world. Yeah. Like for example, here in our country here, our own president, he has some connection with the president from other countries. Yeah. So those mutual agreements which they have amongst themselves can lead them into coming together, sharing ideas, and seeing how they can trade things around the world together. And globalization, the rise to globalization, basically, it is all about mutual understanding, which people have around the world here. That's what I do understand by that.
Okay, so we see the need for, you know, the politics, when politics comes into play, and you know, one country wants to learn from the other, how they run things, and maybe military-wise and all that. So you find these people coming all together, sharing all these kinds of ideas and all that. But we also want to see, there's always been a question that has answers, but still some people want to get more answers to it. Is globalization a threat or an opportunity?
Globalization, according to my own understanding, it's more of opportunity than a threat. Yeah. Okay. Because when countries come together, sit down and outline the ways in which they can do trade amongst themselves together, that one, it can promote trade amongst countries. Yeah. Because like when borders are open, people are freely allowed to move. So that one can make, like from here, someone can go and trade in Sudan, in Congo, in Nigeria, in all other parts of the world. So it brings more opportunity to people than threats here. That's what I understand. Because in the world which we are living today, it's more of business. Because people want to make money in order to fulfill their daily needs. So globalization can help people to push their goods to people. Like to push their goods globally. You can be here in Uganda and you push your goods through the borders of Uganda to Congo, to Sudan, and then that one there, it will generate more income to you. So that one, it will bring more opportunity to you than the threats here.
Okay, aside from the, you know, from the trade aspect, the cross-border trade that happens between countries, we've seen how Uganda exports coffee on the world market and other countries doing the same. Yeah. That is just one of the opportunities that globalization has presented. But apart from the trade bit, what other opportunities has globalization come with?
Globalization, one, it has also led to rise in different cultures here in Uganda. For example, here in Uganda, we used to have our cultures, the way we dress, the way we do things, such as like music. So globalization, it has really changed some of the ways in which we do things. One, when it comes to music, you know, nowadays we used to have our own ways of doing music here in Uganda. But due to globalization, people have gone to search for new ideas, like new ways of doing music in Nigeria, like the way people in Nigeria do songs there. So those styles, they have really come here in Uganda. And also people from Uganda have also gone to copy some styles from South Africa. The way they do things there, the way they do their music. That Amapiano type of dance. So globalization has really also led actually it has also brought new ways of doing music among us people here. And when it comes to cultures, like things to do with the fashions, the way people dress, we used to have our own ways of dressing. But due to globalization, most of us here have adapted the ways of dressing, which are from abroad, like from England, America, the way people dress here. So those ideas there, people have got them through globalization. That's what I can tell you about that.
Interesting. So should we say we thank globalization? You know, now you guys do songs from South Africa, Amapiano, and then you have the Afrobeat. People in Arua have even taken it, you know, far to have the Afrobeats and Amapiano night that DJ Ronsi Baby always does there at Iced Haven. So that is just some of the benefits that we see associated with globalization. But talking about talking about this cultural influence that globalization has had on, the influence that globalization has had on culture. How has globalization affected our culture, especially our African culture?
Our African culture. Okay, those days, like before globalization here in Africa, here basically in Arua, we used to have our traditional ways of eating, like some those days, like eating.
People used to eat.
Those days, we used not to serve foods on plates.
Okay.
Each member of the family used not to have their own plates for eating. Like those days, when food is cooked, you all come together, you eat together as a family. There is no way people used to share foods amongst themselves. But due to globalization, people have gone out to see the way the outside world works, the way people eat outside. So they have copied those styles. That's why nowadays you see in most homes, people do eat in their own plates. They share each member of the family nowadays have his or her own plates of eating. So in that way, those things it's all the effect of globalization.
Okay.
That's how it has affected our culture.
So you know how people used to eat in a common pool? I must say, I also miss those moments. Well, they'll just make food, serve food on the table, and everyone takes their own share from a common pool. But like you say, today people just have the self-service. You know, people would prefer to eat alone. Someone goes and eats in their room. And let's talk about the people using cutleries, you know, someone being there using spoons and forks. Now you have to struggle how to learn how to use those things. That is just one of the things that let's talk about the globalization, how it has affected our way of dressing.
Our ways of dressing.
Yes.
Globalization, it has really affected our ways of dressing, because those days, like if you go back in the days when our culture started, those days we used to, even some of our ancestors or great grandfathers, they used to dress. They used to, even some of them you could find them dressing in leaves. They could just make up leaves. They make their cloth out of leaves, and then they dress that way. Also, some of them, they used to use animal skins. They shape it very well. They make it in form of dress, and they used to put on them. But due to globalization, the whites, they have gone ahead of us to invent clothes. Like these ones we are putting on today. This is also another effect of globalization. If not because of globalization, by now we could even be here we could be wearing skins or some other clothes apart from these ones. So globalization has really affected our ways of dressing that way. So nowadays we can go to Europe, you go and buy things from there, you bring your clothes here. You order shoes, clothes from abroad, and then they bring it here. Those are other ways in which globalization has really affected our ways of dressing here. That's it. Okay,
and we see, you know, the young people wanting to emulate the kind of love that we've never seen in Africa. Anyway, they're learning. And also, like we talked about marriage, congratulations again, Ivan and Belinda. You guys are super amazing. So we see white weddings today. What do we used to have? We used to have these traditional, you know, kind of weddings, and our lifestyle used to be different. The way people like behave, everything has changed. Do you attribute that to globalization? Or it's something that maybe it's caused by some other thing?
No, that one is probably globalization, because those days like our traditional marriages, those days people used not to use cars for weddings. We used not to use cars because they were not there.
Okay, what do people use those days?
Those days
we
were using animals like camels, donkeys for marriages. So you find the brides and grooms, they are given donkey to ride through here. And those days, when cars were not there, so those were the things we were using. Even the ways of dressing, those days, they were different from the ways people dress now. Gowns, those white gowns, and the suits which people use nowadays, those things were not there. Our people, they used to dress traditionally. No car, no these white weddings, no expensive weddings, no expensive gifts here. You just do it traditionally, you eat, and you go home here. But due to globalization nowadays, you can see the way people wed here. You see cars, even some people use private jets for wedding.
Like, you know, you need to live, you need to make people talk about your wedding.
Yeah, that is it. So all people want to make their weddings very colorful. Yeah. So that is the effect of globalization. It has made us to copy the ways in which people do things in other countries. Yeah.
That is just some of the examples that we're experiencing, how our lifestyle has changed and all that. You know, let's talk about this technology. What is actually making these things possible is technology, because we see, let's talk about social media. And
social media,
people going there to learn things and all that. You're seeing people from people doing things from other parts of the world, and you want to emulate that. Has that had a positive or negative impact on the people?
Yeah, if I go with positive impacts, like globalization, it has really had a very great impact in our daily lives, because before globalization, we used not to have phones, even we used not to have TVs. So those days, people were using means of, like traditional means of communication. One was they were using drums. Like if people want to gather for to share some ideas, people used to gather themselves using drums. Like one person can alert people using drum. Yeah. So that one, they beat drum to, like if people hear drum, they'll know that something is going to happen somewhere. So they go there. And even the ways of talking, those days we used not to have phones. If you want to send message to Kampala, you have to write an informal letter. You write a letter, you send it through someone.
Postal.
It may even reach there after 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. So globalization has really eased the ways of communication. Introduction of smartphones. Now, like if you want to call someone right now, even if you want to call someone from America, within 2 minutes you're already done with everything that you want to share. That's also that's one of the impacts, positive impacts of globalization.
So we say technology has actually eased globalization, really where everyone is connected and people easily share things, ideas, and all those things.
That's right. That's what it is. Really.
That is very interesting. So if you had not noticed, like you said, people used to use drums for communication. You know, I was surprised. I went back to my former school. The last time I was there was people were using, these bells for communicating, and then all of a sudden you go and you find this alarm, wow, and I'm like, oh my God, where is this coming from? So those are some of the changes that have come along with globalization, but it has taken a big toll on our culture. As we have seen, we are forgetting our ways, our old ways, and adopting new ways. I don't know if that has a positive or negative impact on our culture. We'll also get to discuss, because we're forgetting some of the values that we have. Like you already say, people are throwing away traditional marriage for white weddings and all that. You can let us know what you think about globalization. Has it come as an opportunity or as a threat? Let us know by going on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook. We do this every Saturdays, and where we value what you think about any topic that we have for discussion. And the impacts of globalization in our community are vast. I'm sure you've already seen, when we talk about dressing our young girls, maybe people used to put on long things. Today people are going skimpy, and people are complaining. The old people are bitter. They are bitter, but what can they do? That is just one of the impacts that the things that we have to bear as a result of globalization. Let's talk about politics. You earlier on mentioned something about let's talk about political globalization. You had talked about, President Museveni, our president, of course, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, going out maybe to another nation and doing some things. Syria, we've been hearing about wars in Syria, Southern Sudan, and Iraq, all these things. When something like that happens in another country, countries like Uganda shake, because they know something bad is going to happen, it's going to have a dire impact on them. So how has globalization had an impact on them in that aspect of politics?
Politics. Like if you take globalization politically, like I mentioned earlier on that globalization has made different countries to come together to sign agreements amongst themselves. one of the agreements could be like how they want to trade things, they want to trade goods and services amongst themselves.
The cross-border trade.
Cross-border trades. So globalization has really led into that. So people nowadays come together, they share ideas, sign agreements in order to ease movements of people across borders. So like one of the benefits of that is that like when our politicians they sign agreements with the politicians from other countries, so that one makes movement of people easy across borders. So like you can go freely, you buy things from Congo, you come back without any problem. You also go to Sudan, go to Kenya, go to Tanzania and buy things freely. Why? Because our leaders they have signed agreement amongst themselves in order to allow people freely move in order to trade goods and services. So that one can really increase the income flow in countries amongst this world.
Okay, we see that it's an opportunity in a way that it allows cross-border trade. We see countries doing trade in the USA, country like Uganda, and transportation has been made easier. That's why we have international flights. You can go from one country to another in a matter of hours instead of days or months or weeks. Things have been made easier. So also, still in line with politics, we see that when maybe there's a war in Sudan, Uganda has to worry because business is going to get distracted and all that. How has this political instability affected third world countries like Uganda, let's say developing countries like Uganda?
That one, its negative effect is that, like, if, for example, like you said, if there are wars in other countries which we have signed agreements with in order to trade goods with them, like if there are wars, for example, in Sudan, there it makes free movement of people a bit difficult because people will fear to go and buy things from there. Also in Kenya, if there is war in Kenya, we will shake because why? We have in some ways we depend on Kenya for some goods because there are some things which we buy from Kenya. So if there is war in Kenya, it really makes movement from here to there a bit difficult. And also the goods which come from Kenya to Uganda will reduce, the rate at which they move will reduce because the borders there, because like those goods, the owners of the goods, they will not feel free to bring their goods there because why? They fear that maybe they might get attacked on the way. So the inflow of goods into Uganda or Kenya will reduce, and that one will make the prices of the goods which are already here to increase. So buying things become difficult. You can find like if we used to buy goods which are imported from here, some goods at 10,000. So if there is war in Kenya and the inflow of the goods from Kenya to here reduces, so that one like it can make the goods which are already here, it can hike their prices because you can find that the goods which you used to buy here at 10,000 can increase up to 20,000. So that one, when there is a problem in some other countries, it really affects globalization so much.
Okay, so that is it. We've looked at some of the opportunities and also the other side of globalization, where when other countries are politically unstable, then some countries have to suffer. For example, a country like Uganda that uses the international market. We export coffee and many other goods to other countries. So in cases where there is instability, we don't have market. So our goods stay here for us, and also it also affects our prices within the country, affecting people economically and also politically. We see how some of these countries interfere in the politics of these other countries. We shall come back and delve more into that after the break. Don't go away. This is The Real Talk.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region. Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Welcome back from that short break. This is The Real Talk with me, Ayot, Lillian, and welcome to Westnile TV, lighting up the region. We are on Zuku Star Times, and we also do stream live on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, where you can be a part of this conversation by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment so that we know what you think about our topics. And today we are looking at the impact of globalization in our community. We can't deny the fact that that it has had a big impact on our community, be it positive or negative. We have had to experience that for ourselves. We looked at globalization, where we said it's the interconnectedness and interdependency of countries globally, and making the world like a global village, like one village that we live in, because we are connected in very many ways, politically, economically, and socially. And this has influenced how we relate, how we do things, and a lot of things. We also see how one country gets affected, how one country can affect very many countries when it's politically unstable, or maybe has changes in policies and all that. And today we have been discussing that and still discussing that topic with our guest in the studio. He is called Vincent. For those who have just joined, he'll have the opportunity to introduce himself again. What do you think about globalization? Is it a positive or a negative thing? Has it had a positive or negative impact on in our community? You can let us think. Vincent, going forward, we were still talking about the political bit of it, where some of these countries interfere in the political issues of some of these countries, where there is a political move in one country, another country has a say in that. How has that affected different countries? Maybe if you'd like to talk about a specific country specifically, or just in general.
The ways in which globalization has affected countries varies in different ways. Because if you do economically, things to do with money, nowadays due to globalization, even here nowadays people do trades in dollars. Because here in Uganda we use Ugandan shillings, but due to globalization, dollars been introduced here. Pounds, euros, they are all here nowadays. Kenyan shillings, they are all here. Why? Because of globalization. So people trade using different currencies without problems, and they move across borders using those currencies to trade amongst themselves. Why? Because of globalization. Countries have come together. They have signed agreement amongst themselves in order to do things together. So globalization has economically impacted our lives in a very good way.
Okay, let's talk about morality. A lot of people are complaining, especially our elders are complaining these young people are doing this, they're doing that, and doing unacceptable things in public. For example, you find someone kissing in public, doing PDAs, and these things don't go well with our elders. You find a child who is, the parent is talking to a child, and the child is, don't talk to me like that, you're not my mother, you're not my this, and people dressing up in a way that our old people term indecent, and a lot of that has come because they go on net and see these things happening in other countries. So what impacts have globalization had on our morality?
Much as globalization has really impacted our lives positively in so many ways, it has also impacted our lives in some negative ways. Because when you go into dressing, those days people most of us here in Africa, we used to dress decently. The ladies used to put on long skirts. They don't expose their body parts easily. But nowadays, due to globalization, due to the ways in which things from abroad has entered into our countries, people have copied ways of dressing, those Western world ways of dressing. You find most of the days nowadays, girls dress on short mini skirts, which is also an impact due to globalization, because they copy those things from there. So they watch them in movies, the ways of dressing, and those things, they don't go well with our elders. Because those days, that's not how they used to do things. So one ways of dressing, like if a lady doesn't dress well, you expose most of your body parts here. That one can really expose you to so many bad things. Because like the way people now most of the days nowadays, people judge you according to how you dress here. So most people judge us according to the ways of the dress, and those dressings. If you don't dress well, you dress in you put on short clothes. Boys, you put on jeans which are torn. Those damages. Some of the damages are not actually all that well, okay. But some of them are good. Not all of them are bad. Some of them are all that okay. But some other ways I don't really understand it. So negative impacts of globalization, it has really affected our ways of dressing, because most of us nowadays expose our body parts so much, and that one, it has really led to so many negative things in our lives here. And also, if you take other ways of doing things, especially marriages, those days, during those days of our forefathers, what they used to know, and what we used to know is that a man is supposed to marry a woman. But nowadays, due to globalization, you see the way things are coming up. People from here, they are now copying the ways in which people do marriages, like in other countries. Yeah. Because nowadays, like they have introduced these other new ways of marriage, like those things concerning homosexuality, lesbianism. Nowadays, yeah, due to globalization, yeah, those
The
things they have
LGBTQ
those things that they have come in. So they are now trying to manipulate us into doing things using their styles. Like nowadays, they encourage a man to marry a fellow man, which really doesn't go well with our culture. So that one, it has really made our elders to think a lot about globalization.
Okay.
So much as it has brought positive impacts in our lives, also negative impacts are there, and it has really affected us so much also.
Also on on the dressing bit, when it comes on behalf of ladies, I would want to say ladies don't actually dress to impress anyone. We dress according to our moods and all that. Someone says someone said they rep girls because they dress indecently, and then someone says you don't rep the clothes but you rep the girls. So I hope that message is clear. Let's zero down to, you talked about people learning. This is because there's a lot of information being put out there, and people are using this information not selectively. Okay, information is just dumped from people to use. So thanks to globalization, of course, that we have access to anything we want to see. So do you think people should consume this information selectively, or everything they see is just good?
Much as globalization is good, but we have to consume things selectively, because when it comes to information, so we have to choose the right informations. So we have to consume information which can have positive impacts in our lives. Like when you go into learning new ideas, new technologies. So we have to pick the ones which are good, the ones which can develop our lives, the ones which can make us develop our talents, our ways of doing things. Like if it comes to music, ways of doing music, there are so many ways of doing music, and we have to choose the ones which are good for us, in order to promote a good image of ourselves into this world. So we have to select them, the good ones. But those negative ones, we have to leave them, because those ones, they can have a very bad impact in our lives.
Okay. Speaking of music, I can see how Uganda is immersed into these other music, from South Africa, the Amapiano, Afrobeats. You guys love these things, but you don't even have something that trends in your country that you have as a country. But I'm not here to point fingers at people. So that is there's a lot of information at people's disposal. So you choose what to consume and what not to. Because this also, technology, internet, and social media is one of the things that has actually made globalization possible. And we see politically, people have used this to spread propaganda, issues of wars, rumors going around. There's going to be war between this and that. There's something there, and it has affected a lot of countries politically and economically. Let's talk about the religious aspect, where our people have, I don't know if Africans have a religion, or we just got a religion. We got to know about religion when the white man came to our land. I don't know.
Those days, for us, like things to do with the religion, the religions most of the religions we have nowadays, those are the types of religions which we copied from the Western world. Because those days we used to do things traditional. We used to have our own ways of worshipping our gods. Like our forefathers, they used to have gods. Because those things of churches, they used not to be there. the way they do
Is
things.
that the same gods that are now termed to be, you know, the people are considered to be witches, witch doctors, and all that? Was that your initial religion?
Yeah, those are the types of gods our forefathers used to worship. Yeah, like if you have some problems, you can go and talk to them, and they will tell you your problems, and they will also tell you the solutions. So since Western world started coming into our world due to globalization, they brought, if we go back to those missionary days, missionaries, when they come into our country here, they came from abroad, Western world, so they brought in here Christianity. If you take Catholic, Protestants, these religions, they all come from Western world. Those things we used not to have them. Even Islam.
Okay.
That one.
That is very interesting, because now we've seen there's religion everywhere. People have different religions, and I'm surprised that one day someone said she has to wake up at 3 to say a prayer, to join the rest of the congregation to say a prayer. You know, online. People these days pray online. People are connected worldwide. People do. And that has, you know, I don't know, contributed positively to the religious aspect. I don't know, but that is just one of the things that we see as a result of globalization. A lot is happening due to this. People learn every day. People's lives improving. People's lives are also, you know, going down because of this thing. One propaganda like this can bring an entire country down, can cost the country. But this is what we are discussing here. You can also let us know what you're thinking. And now let's look at one of the things that is a global concern, that is the climate change that is happening. You know, everybody is concerned, and thanks to globalization, there's a collective effect. It's a global problem that everyone is trying to work around to solve. But we also see globalization has come with its toll on the environment, where maybe these people have adopted these other ways of packaging their products, like the plastic bags, the plastic bottles and all that. So what effect has all that has had on the environment?
If I take the negative impacts of globalization on environment, is that like due to globalization, there are different ways in which people transport goods amongst themselves globally. So nowadays people use different means of transportation. One is using road transport here. So those big trucks which you see them moving up and down here, they negatively contribute
pollution.
to new air pollution. Those smokes they produce, the dust they raise, those things, they can have negative impacts on our environment. They affect the rainfall pattern of our environment. That is the way also globalization has affected us. So like. Also, if you also take a positive side, like you said, the ways in which people pack plastic bags. So nowadays, different countries, they trade amongst themselves. Like from here, in Uganda, you can go and trade in Kenya. You see the way they pack things. You go to Rwanda, you see the way they pack their waste products. So those ways, they can go here from Rwanda, they go and copy those styles of disposing their waste products. They bring it here in Uganda. They also practice that style, so that way it can really help our climate, because like our environment will not be polluted so much, because they copy the styles in which things have to be packaged and disposed in a proper way, so that one can really have a positive impact in our environment.
Okay, that's interesting. Much as it has had negative effects on the environment, it has also helped people, you know, find ways of trying to save the environment. You know, the movements that across the globe, we have organizations, we have people moving from one country to another to advocate for, you know, all these things, talk about climate change and all that and all that. So that is definitely a plus. And as we wind up, let's talk about, we've talked about globalization at length, and now we want to look at the positive, you know, look on the bright side of the things. What are some of the opportunities that globalization presents that people need to utilize, especially the young people? How can they make the best out of globalization?
Globalization, there are so many ways in which young people can benefit from globalization. So it opens new ways of trading things amongst people. Like due to globalization, you can use air transport to transport air transport your goods from here to Kenya. So it eases movement here. So that way youth can really benefit from it. So goods and services will reach people from other countries very fast here. And also it opens new markets here, new markets for technologies here. Like you can invent something from here and someone from Kenya admires it, and they will place an order, you send for your goods from here to there. So it has really, globalization has opened ways in which people can trade here. Nowadays, due to globalization, we have online trades here. So due to globalization, those things have really helped us a lot. So the youth here can use those opportunities here which globalization has created here. Those new ways of trading, new ways of doing things here. So the youth has to utilize those things here. So like if you go into music world here, those are my piano types of music here. The globalization has really opened up so many ways in which people can do music here. So the youth, the upcoming artists who are planning to do music here, they can use that opportunity here to copy styles from South Africa, from Nigeria, copy styles of doing music from there. They bring it here, they put it into their art so that they can produce better quality music to the world here. And also when it comes to fashion, fashion world here, we have our ways of dressing here, but globalization also has made different countries here to learn things from amongst themselves. So like new ways of doing things in Kenya are there, Rwanda are also there, Tanzania they're also there. So the youth here should take this opportunity to also go search into other countries and see the way things are done there, and they come here, they also copy those styles, and in order to make them produce better quality products for people here to consume here.
Okay, that is interesting coming from him. Much as we say globalization has those negative impacts, we also say there are positive things that has come along with globalization, where we've seen people learning from each other, people sharing information, people making, policies are being changed in countries. For example, the human rights laws that have been put in place across the globe and all that. Also, let's not forget trade, where people have the cross-border trade. People from here now have market on the world market and transporting their things there. People are benefiting, but you cannot benefit from those things unless you take a deliberate effort to make sure that you benefit from these, especially the young people. Social media has come to connect people. You can use it for communicating, and at the same time you use it to market your things. Like he said, someone outside can get interested in your work when you publish it online, and or maybe you advertise a product online, and then someone gets to order from wherever they are. There's a lot that comes with it. Of course, let's not forget the fact that there's also a lot of information being dumped on the internet, and you can choose to use this information in a way that can help you or not. And that's why you need to be very, very selective with what you consume. And also, we've seen how globalization has influenced politics in very many countries. Recently, we see how the USA threatened to, withdraw their aid from Uganda, which I think they did. And those are just some of the things, because Uganda refused to accept the homosexuality thing, the LGBT community here. And so that cost the country, which is okay, because Uganda stood on its, like, we're not doing this, you're not doing this. So that is one of the examples that you see how globalization is affecting different countries in different political realms. And also coming to our culture, we have lost track of our value because we are so much into other people's culture, their way of dressing, their languages. You can't believe that even today people rarely teach their children their local languages, but are fast run to teach them the foreign language in our country, which is of course the official language, the English. Yet your children cannot speak their local language. We have regarded our cultural ways to be evil, especially some of our tradition, abandoning them for some of these new things that we learn online. For example, people talk about westernization, Africa now being immersed into the Western culture, but if you didn't know how it's as a result of globalization, the world being that one, interconnected, like a village. Someone theorizes globalization puts a world in a way that it becomes one village where everyone is connected. A lot of dependency and connection we see between the countries. There's a lot of opportunity that can come with all that, like we say, as an individual. So Innocent, as we wind up, what are your last words to our viewer? At least I know some people have just joined this and they have missed a lot from what we discussed earlier on. So if you could summarize what we just we have been discussing, so that our viewer is updated.
Okay, for those of you who did not start with us but have come in a bit later, what we're actually discussing right now is globalization, how it has impacted, how is the changes in which globalization has come in our countries. Yeah. So globalization basically is basically the increasing ways in which people do things amongst themselves worldwide or globally. So the ways in which people trade services and trade goods and services amongst themselves. So that is basically what globalization is all about. The ways in which we catch up from people with peoples from other worlds, from other parts of the world. So globalization, it has really brought so many things, the good and the bad ones, into our lives. But what I can say, I can tell viewers is that we need to pick out the good ones, the ones which can make us grow positively, the ones which can make us develop our talents, develop our skills, develop our mindset, promote the goods and services that we produce. So we have to aim at picking the positive ones. Negative signs, I don't support that. We have to go with the positive ones. If you want to live long and live with our neighbors in a very good ways. So those are the things which I can say about globalization. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Thank you very much, Innocent. And if you've just joined the discussion, he has summarized what we have talked about in globalization. People have different definitions for it: interconnectedness, interdependency of the world. And we look at this from three different aspects, that is the cultural, economic, and the political realm, that affect the different countries globally. And also looking at the question that we've been basically answering is whether globalization is an opportunity or a threat. That depends on how you choose to understand the word globalization, and also different countries understand this differently because it affects them differently. But one thing we can't deny is that something that affects a superpower country can have a ripple effect, that whereby it affects the rest of the countries, some of the developing countries like Uganda, of course. So that is basically it. And thanks to that, on 11th October we are celebrating the International Day of the Girl Child. So as you know, we have very many international days to celebrate as a result of globalization, and it has helped a lot in activism. A lot of that has helped people in different countries to promote different causes, to fight for different causes. Thank you so much for staying in with us for today's discussion. Our guest is Jira Innocent. Thank you so much for staying with us today. And all the viewers out there, I want to say we are grateful. Thank you for watching The Real Talk. We do this every Saturdays from 8 to 10 p.m. And we do this again next Saturday. Don't go away and don't change the channel, because the next program, stay tuned for the next program that is coming from us to you. And before we close, I want to thank Aldo, our producer, and Ayot, our director. Thank you so much for making this show a good one. And kudos to each and every one of you. Have a very, very lovely evening and happy Independence in advance. See you all on Saturday. Have a good night.